Welcome back. I'm Gary Parr, and you are listening to Fiber Talk, that twice-weekly podcast for needlework artists. And joining us this week, almost 2 years, Krista Gramer. Hi, Krista.
Hi, Gary. How are you?
I'm just fine. Yeah, I was looking. It was March in 2018.
Wow.
Yeah, hard to believe. Yep.
Time flies.
No kidding. Yeah, a lot of time. Yeah. Well, and that's just it. We've been doing this Fiber Talk thing. Now this is, I think, our third year. Long time. Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't look to see what number of Sunday show you were, but now we're at 152. So it's, a lot of shows. Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. And this.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah. Anxious to talk to you.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yep. And this week, sponsored by Sassy Jack Stitchery, and we appreciate that. And here is a word from Kim.
This edition of Fiber Talk is proudly sponsored by Sassy Jack Stitchery. Sassy Jack's is a vibrant young needlework shop located on the picturesque Main Street of Weaverville, North Carolina. We hope you find a way to come visit us soon. If you can't make it to us, then visit us on Facebook or Instagram. We love it when you stop by and say hi, whether it's in person or online. Many heartfelt thanks to everyone who stitched our free download, Aussie Friends. We are overwhelmed by how many of you have taken the time to stitch and post this sweet little benefit for fire recovery in Australia. Please feel free to share this design with anyone you like, including guilds and stitch groups. We'll be tallying up all the posted and emailed finishes through February 29th to determine our contribution to 2 Australian charities working on fire recovery. Every stitch counts, and we so appreciate all of your positive energy, thoughts, and prayers going to everyone and every animal impacted by these horrific wildfires. Thank you for stitching with us to support our Aussie friends. If you haven't signed up for our winter online class module, Learning Stitches, please join us as we're just getting rolling. You can find the info on our homepage at sassyjackstitchery.com. We'd love to have you join us on this first of many fun and affordable online workshops. We truly appreciate you, and we really appreciate all the good things we hear and learn from Fiber Talk. We are super proud to be a sponsor of this wonderful resource of stitching goodness. Thank you, Fiber Talk, for giving us some stabby pokey talk twice a week. Kim and team at Sassy Jack Stitchery.
Hey, thanks, Kim. Thanks to Sassy Jacks and the team there, and please support them. Support our sponsors because they make these podcasts happen. I'll tell you, it's greatly appreciated. And when you go there and buy something, mention Fiber Talk so they'll know that you heard about them through us. That helps too. So thanks to Kim and Sassy Jacks. So Krista, met you 2+ years ago when you had the first Lucy Calcutt.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, at market. Right.
Right. And and then came along the next year with the second one.
Yes, Lucy was an industrious girl.
Well, still one of the neat stories, I think, to have 2 samplers from the same girl stitched a year apart, right?
A year apart. Yeah. She dated them, with her age, the year and her age. And the first one was, I did them in the order that she stitched them as well. And the first one was at age 8 and then the second at age 9. It's really hard to fathom that, but it's, amazing work that she did back then. Yeah.
And we struggled to get one of that size done in a year. And she did too.
Yeah, I know. They're both large samplers. They're both about the same size, and they really complement each other well. The colors and everything. She used the same colors pretty much in both of them, and the motifs that were done on the first one, which were all smaller florals and birds and trees and even the small red house, everything got big and bold on the second one. She really made a big statement on the second one. So they really worked well together, and it was a pleasure to chart both of them and stitch both of them.
Yeah, I like looking at them. I haven't stitched either one, though they're high on the list. But that's the second one. I've said this before, the maturity, at least in my perception, the maturity that happened in a year with her. I just feel like that second one really was a level better. and maybe it's because things are bigger and bolder, but I just really feel like it to me, that's the fun thing is I see, all right, here's one, and then a year later I can do this better and get more out of it. Yeah.
And she did. She really, I think, made a nice statement with her second sampler. It was much more balanced and I think thought out where the placement of the motifs, there is some symmetry because there's some that are mirrored on each side, but they're placed, properly. There's nothing that on the first sampler, she got a little stuck in places where she couldn't fit the whole design that she, I think, was hoping to.
Right.
And so I don't think it was as well thought out, when she was 8 as opposed to when she was 9. So, I can't imagine 8-year-olds at this age, this day and age doing these type of things. But so it really is amazing, what they were doing back then in the 1800s.
Yeah, I never get over that ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know.
mean, and people say, well, they had help, they had teachers, they had parents. I don't care. Still, little girls doing stuff of that magnitude, even with help, that's still impressive.
Right.
Just and to complete them, to have
absolutely.
the stick-to-itiveness to complete them is impressive.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. In that first one, it's like when you're first learning to write, and you're making some big title, and you get to the end, and you got to cram letters in before you run out of paper. And,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They had to work with what they had back then and, try to make it fit or leave it off,
Right.
just leave it off.
Yeah.
But what I've been enjoying over the last 2 years is to see other people enjoying it too. That's what I really have taken from it, as well as that I made the chart available and now so many others can enjoy it as well. I think that's just wonderful to see. So
yeah, that's got to be exciting every time you see someone working on it or completing either
Right.
one of those. That's just got to be, I put that in place so people could do that.
Yeah, with social media as it is, every now and then I see a new person working on Lucy. I see progress reports from others and it's exciting to see that.
Yeah.
So it's, I'm glad that, it's getting it out there. That's the whole point, so that other stitchers can enjoy these older antiques and stitch them for themselves and just enjoy it. So
Yep, they don't just fade
about.
away and go to waste. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
When you were charting the second one, this is a long time ago and probably unfair to ask, but did you feel like her stitching quality was better? Or
Yes, both the samplers are all cross stitch. So that was the same thing. It was just more about the placement of the design and the motifs and making them balanced this time as opposed to the first one. I do find that it had to have been more thought out. That's I think where she went with it. She did incorporate some new colors in the second one as well. More of the, I want to say pastel colors, come into play. So maybe she ran out of all the colors she had. I don't know. She seemed to have had a certain set amount of colors that were definitely used in both samplers, but then all of a sudden some new ones showed up. So, or maybe she just wanted to keep adding more things to it.
Yeah.
We'll never know for sure. But,
right.
Yeah. She really,
did you feel like the quality of the needlework was better, or was that not something that really?
Yeah, it was neat. Her stitching was neat. I worked from photos of the original antique. I didn't get to see the backs of them to see if maybe the backs had gotten better. These were from the collection of Nicola Parkman's collection. So I worked from the detailed photos, many photos, to come up with the colors that were required. And so I could only see from that, but her work was very, very well done. So I don't know if she was being schooled, for both of these at that early age. I would imagine she was, because it was just very clean needlework.
Mm-hmm.
She did it quite well. Yeah. The one thing I did notice in the second sampler was that as things would come to a point, she would do it on the off cross stitch, if you know what I mean, the off thread, to make it over, so that if you have 2 cross stitches together and she wanted the other one exactly in the middle of those, she would do it on what we would think as the off thread. But aside from that, all the cross stitches were done very well.
Well, that's the thing that I would just have loved to have been able to, fly on the wall to see the instruction going on for any of these girls doing samplers. And are they given, here's some motifs, here's some patterns, go do it? Is somebody always checking them and making them redo it? You know what I mean? Because there's so many of them are so well done that, for an 8 or 9-year-old girl, it's somebody had to be offering some serious guidance, I think.
I agree with that. I know we don't know for sure, but I would assume that there was some sort of a needlework booklet or, from a teacher that had these different designs in it, because we so often see some of the same pretty much exact designs, but in a different place on other samplers. Mm-hmm. So I get the sense that, they were given these designs to work from, and they had a little bit of free reign to decide how they wanted their sampler to look. But they did have, I believe, like a teacher overseeing what they were doing. Yeah. I don't think they were just doing it as we do it, as, for our own hobby sake, for their enjoyment. I do think that there was more of a schooling happening, to learn their skills with this. Yeah. So, it's a different reason behind it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure there was a lot of, piano practice. You have to do a half hour today.
Right.
Well, right. I did a half hour. No, you did 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to play. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure some enjoyed it more than others, but thankfully, most of their works have survived all these years for us to enjoy.
Right. Well, and in a different culture back then too, in terms of what there is to do and an expectation of kids in terms of chores around the house that we still have today, but I don't think at that level.
Right.
So different mentality, but still they're kids.
True. And I'm sure that there were some that had more chores to do, or they came from a different class of household that, that I think that also shows in their works by the types of threads they were using, whether it be silk or cotton, and also the type of ground cloth they would use. Some are much more coarse than others, and some have a very high count, which is unbelievable to imagine. So I think by analyzing all of those factors, you can kind of put a picture together of how they grew up a bit, and how they were, how they came to be to stitch what they were stitching, whether it be in a school setting, or maybe if they were a little bit more well-to-do, they might have had a private tutor teaching them. It's hard to tell, but that's why we have to look at the things that they used and try to determine from there.
Yeah. And it's fun to speculate and just imagine.
Yes, of course.
Just imagine what it could be. Yeah.
I know.
So the first Lucy, that was your first reproduction, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it was. Yep. It was just something I wanted to try. I said, let's see how this goes. And it was a fun process to learn it. And, from beginning to end, from the whole charting, picking colors, to stitching it myself and then making, adjustments along the way. It took a lot of adjustments. I wasn't happy with certain colors, how they were coming out. So a lot of frogging. And, the whole process from beginning to end. And then I got to do it again. And the second time, I would say it was a little bit easier because it was such a complimentary sampler. But It's an enjoyable thing to it kind of gets you into their head a little bit while you're looking at all of their stitches and their work and putting it down on paper, and then, to know that others can then enjoy it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what has that process done for you? I mean, you're still doing it, so obviously it was positive, enjoyable thing. Is it something that's grown you as a needleworker?
Yeah, I enjoy samplers. It's one of my favorite types of things to stitch, especially since I had gotten away from stitching in the early 2000s, but when I returned, I think that's around around 2010, it seemed that's when samplers were really, starting to come to light as being reproduced more so, at least what I could find anyway, online. And I've always had, an eye towards them when I see, that's usually what my go-to is samplers. I have many here in the works too, but so many whips, as we call them.
Yeah.
And,
I got a couple of those myself. Yep.
Yeah. But, I think to also go to this level where I'm now, collecting antiques with an eye to reproducing them so that I can enjoy stitching them, and then others too, it's just, another, instead of finding a chart from, let's say, another designer or, something else that's released, creating my own and being the first person to restitch what this young girl did many years ago, is just fascinating that you're the first one to do it again, and then be able to do it so that others can as well. So
so that's the neat thing is now you've started your own collection. What
yes.
What are the things that are appealing to you as you're looking at actually acquiring the originals?
Yeah, I have when I am looking around to see what's available on auctions, or let's say even on eBay, there's many to find there as well. It's really just what appeals to me at first, the colors of it, if there's a verse on it that maybe I like, or certain flowers, whatever the motifs are. When I'm looking at them, I look at it to see if, one, do I want to stitch that? And I feel as well, if I want to stitch it, then perhaps others will as well. So that's mainly the things I look for. I also do try to see if I can find history on the stitchers. It's not always so easy to do that, depending upon how much information was stitched into the sampler, or, if there's no year on it, or, no age, things like that. The name could be too common. All those different factors come into play as to whether or not you can find a history on it. I still don't discount those. I feel like, they're still fun to look at and to stitch. So I would want them on my wall, perhaps. So I would think, as I said, others would as well. Some of the ones I may see could be a little bit worn. They didn't weather all the hundreds of years so well.
Right.
There could be a few threads missing here or there. Seems like certain colors sometimes will just disintegrate apart, whereas there's others still that are quite vivid on the sampler. So, just because it doesn't look pristine as it is right now, that doesn't dissuade me from, wanting to acquire that one to try to, fix it up. I almost call it like Operation Sampler Rescue, try to bring it back to life the way it was. So, those are some of the types that I do have. And like one of the ones I have coming up with releasing for Nashville this year, I received it out of the frame, and the bottom edge of it had all bits of glue attached to it, like it had been glued behind, inside of a frame. So, I had to do my best with what I could see, to do it as accurately as possible. So, those are the kind of things that I like to try to figure out. It's almost like putting a puzzle back together.
Yeah, see, I think that's a fun thing, and I'm sure people have been doing that kind of thing all along, but it seems like just lately I've been running into more people who have been doing just that, Operation Rescue, and keep, samplers that might have a couple of significant holes in them or threads are gone, and then to try and reconstruct that and put it back together. And I think it's a different approach, almost a detective kind of thing.
Right.
And to me, knowing the history almost becomes irrelevant if you can piece it back together and figure out and know that you're at least close in terms of what the original was like.
Right.
That's victory enough, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I mean, to me, it's because I think in a lot of instances, maybe those would have been discarded. Oh, I can't do anything with that. I'll keep it around, and because I don't want to throw it away. But dig in and see if you can put that together. That's fun.
Right. There's no reason to try, to not try to save it, and you just never know what it may come out to be. By putting it back together again, it's again out there again for everyone to enjoy it if they want.
Right. Well,
there's so many for us to choose from. So,
yeah. And there's an art to that too. That becomes an aspect of art in terms of you got to make some interpretations and basically
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I try to do it as closely as possible to what would have been, but if there's something totally missing, let's say you have an alphabet, but the D and the E are missing, you have to try to recreate it the best you can in line with what was there, what's there on the other sides of it so that it matches appropriately and, as closely as possible as what the stitcher originally did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your collection, small, medium, large, how many you have?
I want to say I have about a dozen now or so.
That's pretty good.
I've collected over the last year and a half or so, and I want to say I have quite a few that are Scottish. That I do know that they come from that country, and I do have some that have some specialty stitches in it as well. So, yeah, I'm not sure exactly which ones are next, but I have a few ideas of what's going to come out over the next year or so.
Yeah.
So
are you constantly on the hunt?
Busy.
Are you constantly on the hunt, or do you?
I'm always looking.
Okay.
But it like I said, it has to strike me a certain way, the colors or what it says, and that'll make me want it more or less. So. But I have quite a few right now to think about and start charting. So I'm excited about those as well. Yeah.
So you have charting whips too.
Charting whips, yeah.
Oh boy.
I have two whole different types of piles of whips, yeah.
Is your standard process on those high-powered magnification and just sitting there filling in a chart? Do you use software? How are you going about it these days?
Yeah, I have a software program. I use PC Stitch 10, and it's almost like just clicking on all the boxes and matching it to the original. I first just lay it out with the stitches exactly as I see them, and then I will tweak the colors after the fact to match as best I can. It's nearly impossible to be exactly matching to them, but we come very close.
Yeah.
I think we have so many different shades available to us in different lines of threads now that, we can come very close to what was original.
Yeah. Do you still stick with DMC? Are you doing silk? What are you doing?
The ones that I did for this Nashville, the 3 that are coming out, those were done in DMC, and the ones that I have coming out in the future, I do have an eye towards doing more in silk. So, I'm just not sure, if there will be Auvert Soie silk or an MPI silk. There's so many different wonderful silks now, and I've gone down that rabbit hole a little bit with my own stitching, and it's fun. It's a nice thread to stitch with. So I know that's one of your favorites, Gary, right?
Well, yeah, it is, and it's the banding sampler that I'm doing with MPI silk. It's just one color, but I'll tell you, I really like stitching with that. And I think the next project I do in silk, I think I may just try and do it all with NPI, because I really have. I really like that one. But that's just it. Now there's so many different choices, and and they all seem to, at least the ones I've tried, seem to have different characteristics and behaviors. Some good, some bad, and
right.
Again, part of the fun. But
yes.
Yeah, that MPI silk, I really like doing it. I really like it. I really do.
I've used MPI in the past as well for smaller projects, and I do remember I did like that thread a lot. I'm currently using the O'Farrill swap for some of the stitch alongs that I'm working on, so I'm getting to try that, and I like it a lot too. It's fine, it just goes right through the fabric like butter.
Yeah.
So it's really so soft. And I did just recently get some Mrs. Sadis silk, and that comes from Spain.
Whoa! What silk?
Mrs. Sadis is the brand name.
Like Mrs. as in a married woman?
Well, it's spelled out MISSUS.
Okay.
And then SEDUS, I believe.
Oh.
So, and she comes from Spain. So, she's dyeing silk there. I believe she can be found on like Instagram and Etsy. Beautiful silks. So another one to look at or try.
Yeah.
There's always new things to try.
Have not heard of that. Good coverage on single strand coverage on 40 count. How? Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Down to low 30s or?
No, I don't think the coverage would be. I haven't tried it on a 30 or 32. I think it would be best for a 36, 40.
Okay.
Yeah, at least that. Yeah. Something else to try.
Yeah. Wide range of colors?
I think she's just starting with her range, so I don't know how many is in her range yet, but she also does variegated, dyings as well. Uh-huh. So, yeah.
Where'd you find those?
Through Instagram and watching FlossTube. So I know that.
Where else?
Yeah, I know. I know there's a popular floss tuber, Jan Hicks. She uses that silk a lot, and so I saw her mention it quite often, and she would show it with her stitching videos, and so I decided to pick some up as well to try, and it's really beautiful colorations. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. You've done your damage. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry.
Well, there's just so many, and of course I've got more skeins of Veriswa than I deserve to own, but I like it. It stitches nice, but it has its characteristics too. You have to once you get comfortable with it, then it's just fine. And of course the color range is terrific. So
yes, they have quite an extensive color collection.
Yeah,
absolutely. So yeah,
Mrs. Sadis. All right. All right. Okay. Where'd you get it at? Where did you buy it? Who has it?
I got it through Etsy. Her direct through Etsy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's in shops at this point yet on this, on this side of the ocean. So, that's how I would suggest people look for it is through the Etsy shop. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Well, it's hard to resist that stuff, It really is.
Yeah.
You want to at least get a couple of skeins and try. Does it come in skeins or on spools?
Well, no, it comes in skeins, but she also sells really lovely hanks of silk. So, if you have a big project you want to do and you want to make sure you have a lot of silk, that's the way to get it as well. You can buy a nice big hank of silk. So
if I'm doing a single color one, there you go.
Yeah, especially, there's so many that are monotone color now.
Yep.
Such as I want to just the ones that strike me are like long dog samplers, that type of thing, or even some of what Modern Folk Embroidery does with their single color, designs. You'll have plenty if you buy a hank of silk. So
there seems to be a real emergence, and maybe it's me just tripping over things, but a real emergence of people doing these single color ones, and Modern Folk Embroidery. His designs are just visually appealing to me. But somebody the other day had almost a buttercup cream thread on a light gray, and the combination was just, and I think part of that is that there are so many silk or linen colors available that you can really find striking two color combinations with your linen and a single color of thread. And and once you get something like that going, it's just I think it's almost as beautiful, or maybe in some cases more beautiful, than a multicolored thing.
Yes. Yeah. I'm always amazed when I'm looking through my Instagram feed and all of a sudden I will see a very, striking color combination that I would never probably thought of. So it's just, there's so much creativity out there. It's just endless.
Right. Well, and that's like the one that Vanna's doing, where she has that charcoal gray and then white floche.
Yes, the floche. Yeah.
Oh, that floche.
I have to find some of that floche.
Yeah.
There's a floche revolution, I think, happening. Everybody wants the floche now. I'm anxious to try it myself. So,
well, I know Kim at Sassy Jacks said the other day in a FlossTube that she has an order for them, and we're seeing more and more shops order it. And
it's appealing because of the coverage you can get on, a 32 count or a 30 count with just the one strand. Whereas when you're working on that type of count fabric, and if you're using a DMC or even a silk, you can't with one thread get the coverage pretty much that you want, unless, you like that look. Some people do like the look of the one thread. It maybe is a little bit more prim type of look. Mm-hmm. But most people who like a lot of coverage, which I tend to be in that more direction. So, I really have gotten away from 30 count, 32 count fabric and have gone more from 36 to 40, and I've even tried now the 46 count. So, because I tend to like the one thread of, using just one thread. So I don't have to railroad my threads anymore, which, when using my DMC with two threads, I always got into the habit of what they call railroading and stitching when you put the needle between the two threads, when you're bringing the thread through to kind of let them lay flatter. So you don't have to worry about that anymore with the one. So I do like it. It's one less thing to think about when you're doing your stitching. Yeah.
Well, and that's what drives me to, like I'm doing the Agnes Day on 35 count because Jessica Grimm gave me the linen, but then I'm doing that with floche, and that covers beautifully. But,
nice.
But in general, that's what gets me at 40 count. Is I just don't want to deal with two threads. I don't want to deal with it. It's just extra to me. It's just extra hassle for not a lot of gain, and to go from 30, 35 to 40, I don't think is that big of a leap. But the gain in that you only have to use one strand is huge to me.
Yeah, and the the stitches look, I think, a little bit more polished and so the smaller the stitch, I just think it gives it a really polished look to them. So I think that also makes a difference. And then the overall size sometimes is nicer to have it be smaller.
There's something to be said for that, isn't there? Yep. Well, and I thought I started one I'm doing on 56 count, And I thought, all right, there's going to be a learning curve because the highest I'd ever done was 40. And I thought, oh, there's going to be a bit of a learning curve here, a bit of an adjustment at 56. No, there wasn't. No, it's, your eyes after a few stitches just get used to it and you just go. And
I did a tiny swatch of it and I was still a little amazed at how tiny the stitches were. But, I'm sure I'll keep graduating up to that level. But 46, I was very comfortable working on the 46 recently. One of my models that I just did is on 46 count. And that was a real enjoyable, stitch for me. So.
Yeah. And you can just trot right along. When single strand on that, you can just trot right along. You don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
And, I'm with you. If I have 2 strands, I have to railroad them. I have to make them lie flat. And,
yeah.
What a pain. Never mind. Well, and you're threading 2 strands, or if you do a loop start, then to me it's just a lot of extra for not a lot of gain.
Yeah,
so.
I never did the loop start. I don't know, with the DMC, I always felt that if you do that, you're putting now 2 threads that are twisted opposite of each other, next to each other. So I always would take the 2 going in the same direction, so have 2 separate strands.
Yeah, I mean that's what I do, and sometimes I would get lazy and want to do the loop. But no, I agree with you to have both of them going in the same direction. But then you're dealing with 2 strands, and I find I spend a lot of time getting them even, and I know that shouldn't matter at all. You just clip them off at the on the back side. But single strand, just put it in the needle and go.
Yep.
Yep. No, it's but we have the threads these days that allow us to do that, so it's great.
Yes, yeah,
yep.
We have quite a selection.
What do we have for Nashville now?
For Nashville, we have 3 new designs. 2 of them they're all reproductions actually, and 2 are more regular samplers styles that you would normally find. The first one is called Mary Barker, 1830. And that one, I just love the motifs on that one. It's got 2 lovely green birds that are very symmetrical on the design. But then aside from that, and, there's some alphabets across the top, the rest of it almost comes to me looking like a spot motif sampler, like bits of, what looks like it would have been a border, but she doesn't put it all the way around. Is just a little bit on each side. And then there's some balance to it and some beautiful basket of flowers down the middle, but yet everything's a little bit different. So I really enjoyed stitching that one and picking out the colors for that one. And that one also has a little bit of specialty stitches in it. There's only, I think, 1 or 2 eyelets, so that's not too complicated. And then there's some over 1 stitches as well. But the one that was on there at the bottom of them there's some queen stitches. So that was a fun stitch to work on. I had learned that, years ago. I used to go to classes at my local shop. We would learn all these new stitches. And so I haven't really done as many specialty stitches in the last few years, because mainly everything's been just cross stitch or over 1. So it was a lot of fun working with the queen stitches, and they really do come out really pretty when you do them side by side and stack them on top of each other the way they are on this design. But what I've also done, since I know that the queen stitch maybe is not the favorite of many people.
It'll make many people run for the door. Yes.
Well, yeah, that's what I was afraid of with this one, but I wanted to chart it true to how it was. It's done exactly as it was. But what I didn't want people to be afraid of it. So what I did was in the chart, I have also included an alternate of in cross stitch. So that if they don't want to do those queen stitches at the bottom, and it's only there's just 4 flower segments at the bottom that are in the queen stitch, there is an alternate in the chart itself with where to put them, the placement, that you can have a very similar look. They come out a little bit larger, but it's the same style and the same colorations as what's on the cover, the sampler itself as you see it on the cover. But it's all cross stitch. So I think that hopefully, will, make people either want to maybe pick up the chart and they'll try the queen stitch if they'd like, or, see how they do with it. But there's always an alternative for them. So,
well, and it's just a few. I mean, go for it. It won't be.
Yeah. Well,
if it's painful, it won't be for that long. So go for it.
Yeah, I know. It's nice to see people try to go out of the box and stretch their knowledge with it. But, but I don't blame people for being a little nervous too. So
right.
I wanted to make sure that people would feel comfortable doing it whichever way they prefer.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I actually chuckled when I first saw this, the borders. Or the partial borders, or I should put a border on. Nah, I don't want to do it. just
I wonder
kind of cracks me up.
Where she was thinking, maybe we'll put this all the way around, and then I don't know, she got distracted. Who knows? She just, let me go over here instead and do this. I don't know, but it really came out very sweet the way she did it. So
it's great.
I was really happy with it.
Yeah.
And the green birds, that's what really struck my eye when I saw the antique on auction, and I really wanted to have it. I think they're parrots, but yet I don't know. I show it to some people and I don't know, nobody knows if they're parrots or not. So, it can be whatever you want it to be, I think. Right.
Right. No, it has that little girl look to it, just just the border. Nah, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm going to do something else. Think,
And then the flowers that are in the center section with the baskets, there's one, more vertical. And then there's one that's, kind of sprays out at the bottom. Those are really beautiful just on their own even, and could make a great little pincushion, type of thing. So, I mean, there's always the possibility of taking any of these types of motifs from these samplers to do those kind of things. So, but as I was stitching the one in particular at the bottom in the middle, it really struck me it would have been also perfect for like a pincushion type thing.
Oh yeah. So, that'd be an ornament. It'd be a beautiful ornament. Yeah, you could really have fun with that.
Yeah. So that's Mary Barker. And then I have another Mary coming out, and that's Mary Dickinson,
it's
1842.
A theme. It's a Mary theme.
Mary and Mary, the two Marys this year. Yeah. So she, this one really struck me with the house that's on it and the colors that it is, but also the verse. The verse is what really got me. It's one that we kind of have heard before, but I think she elaborated, like she really put the whole verse out there on it. And, it just rang to me. It's, I'm going to pull it up right in front of me here. Although the way she stitched it isn't exactly how you would say it, the cadence of it, but it's remember me when this you see and bear me in your mind. Let all the world say as they will, speak of me as you find. So, that just resonates with me. It just says, for the people who know the true Mary, that's what I want you to remember me by. So I maybe there was a reason that she chose that verse, who knows? But the one of the odd things about this sampler is the age that she was. She was 17.
Yes.
And you don't normally find, samplers that are done by girls that, much older like that. So I thought that was a bit unusual. And the border also, there's a little bit of change in the greens all the way around. Mm-hmm. And I stitched it true to the original. But like in the upper left-hand corner, she started to use a very light green all of a sudden, or maybe she ran out of thread and she didn't have any place to order it from, who knows? But, she did change it throughout the sampler. It was more of a teal color on the right-hand side, but then more of a Christmassy green on the top and the bottom. But I followed exactly as she did it. And, all the other what I call cotton candy colors that she used, the light blues and the pinks and peaches.
Yep.
that all just stood out at me. It reminded me, the house on it reminded me kind of, the Victorian style houses that we would see with the different painted trim, how they decorate them and paint them, to have that style. That's kind of what it made me think of. So it was just a little different.
Yeah,
so.
As houses go in these samplers, it's a pretty sophisticated building. I mean, there's a lot going on there.
I know. Yeah. And there's a little bird up at the top that, reminds me of other birds I've seen on samplers. And the florals that are on either side of the house, that is like there's a big tulip in the middle with, a spray to each side of it. That is a very dramatic motif. And, again, that would be also another one that would be nice on its own. Mm-hmm. And then there's also something that I don't recall seeing on many samplers, but above the pine tree in the bottom corners, there's what looks like a bouquet of flowers, tied up with some ribbon. Mm-hmm. So that I thought was very Victorian type style too.
No, it's a nice look. Yeah, it really is a nice one. Yeah, the border. My first thought was I ran out of thread. I ordered more, and it's not what I ordered. Well, never mind. I'll just put it in. Whatever.
Right. Whatever. Yeah, just go with it. Right. Yep. I think they just used what they had at their disposal and made sure they didn't waste any. I think, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, but. I tried to do some research, but Mary Dickinson was quite a popular name for the time. So it really did not take me very far.
I'm sure a search for Mary Dickinson, that narrowed it down to 1 million.
Probably 100, so that didn't help so much. But I do believe that it is British in origin. And I also then tried to find some more more information about the verse that was on there and who penned it, where did it come from. And that led me down a rabbit hole of back into the late 1700s, early 1800s. It was widely used, it seemed to be, on pottery and transferware. So I also include information about that, some images, of that verse and how they used it back then. That's included inside the chart. Yeah. So some little history on that.
When you're doing that kind of research, at some point you got to just stop. I mean, you just got to draw a line, I'm sure. But do you? Is it literally that you can't stop because you're sure the next one will deliver something?
Well, you hope to find that you got the right person, or so you can put together a little bit of history to include with the chart. That's what my hope always is. But if I can't figure out who Mary was, then I start looking at the other things and try to, figure out where they were from, or, why did she use this verse, or where did the verse come from? And just to bring some sort of historical aspect into it. Mm-hmm. So if I can, sometimes we just can't.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes there's nothing to be found, but doesn't mean we can't enjoy stitching it anyway.
Right. Do you find that I'm a freak about the back sides of my stitching? Do you find that the back side there that they get kind of just careless, or do you see a lot of care in that too?
Well, it depends upon the stitcher. I have some that I have the open backs to, and some of them, they just carried threads, willy-nilly. They didn't worry about whether you could see it on the front or not. They just wanted to put put one over here, a stitch, and then just carry it across, 10 stitches or so. Yeah. But, like this Mary Dickinson one, that one was done quite neatly on the back. So, her backs were, I wouldn't say, you'd want to display it on the backside, but she took care in what she did. So I think just as we all are now, everybody has their own way of doing it. Some people are very meticulous and some aren't. I know you're very meticulous, Gary.
Yeah, I have that problem. Yeah. Even though no one will ever see it, I have the problem. Yes.
Well, it's there, right? Right. And that's what's important.
Yeah, that's what drives me nuts.
So. So, those are the two sampler styles, ones that I have coming out at market this year. And then all of a sudden, last minute, I said, let me do another one. And so I just actually finished it a week ago. And it's the E. Dalton, what I call the Bee Keepers Cottage. And it just was a really little sweet one that I had gotten alongside another sampler that I got at auction. And it was a tiny woolwork type sampler. And I didn't really look at it so closely with the intention of doing it, but I just happened to look at it recently, a couple weeks ago, about a month ago, I guess it was. And I said, oh, look at how cute this is with the little beehives and the bees, buzzing around. And, I just thought it was very sweet. So I decided, let me try, charting it out. And the first thought I had was to do it on a different medium. I really like to use perforated paper. Mm-hmm. So it was a perfect size to do that with. It's about approximately 80 by 80 stitches, and that would be, a decent size. Most perforated paper that we can find these days is a 14 count type of situation. So, it came out to about 5.5 by 6 inches square. And I thought that was, a nice size that people, could enjoy doing something small with. I also did a model that was on linen as well, so that, people can see it can be done either way. But I do like the perforated paper. And when I worked on it, I did it with 3 strands of DMC, which, to be honest, when I look at it now complete, it almost gives it a woolwork look to it, Right. So, it just came out very sweet. And I did create a very different finish for the perforated paper one. Mm-hmm. It's on like a wooden board with a backing. I tried to be a little Vana creative there, but I'm sure Vana could have done much more with all the things that she has. But I've never tried to do a finish like that, but I do like how it came out. It came out very sweet with I have it done with some red and white striped trim around the outside as a base for it. And, and then I have it on the wooden plaque, if you will. Right. And then the one that I did that was on linen, that's on a 40 count linen, with one strand of DMC. And I did leave out different parts on that one because I felt the linen was more of the ground cover was the color of part of the sampler. Yeah. So, that one's just been, I put into a nice little 5x5 frame, and it worked perfect. So I'm sure that would also work as a pin cushion too, and be the right size. It all depends upon what count fabric you're comfortable working on, and that dictates the size of what you will get. So, but I like to give the people options, something different to try. Yeah, this one lends itself really well to the paper, though. Yeah. I thought so. Yeah. And I feel like I've been seeing more perforated paper used out there recently in recent months or so, making ornaments and things like that. So I thought it was a nice way to present it. Yeah, there seems to be a bit of a movement to give paper a try. And and I'm anxious. I know Vicki Jennett at Needlework Press has been working to get a finer count paper, and I hope she's successful. I really do. I hope so too. Yeah, it would be nice to have other options, in a count that we're more accustomed to, like like a what we would think is more of a 36 to 40. Yeah. To try that. Yeah. Yeah, she has some beautiful samplers that are done on paper, that are much larger. But I know it's a challenge to find perforated paper of a size that you can fit a whole sampler on. So hopefully, there will be people that will be making that type of thing for us at some point.
Yeah, we don't see poster board sized perforated paper.
No, yeah, you can't do like a sour brazier, right?
Right.
on a perforated paper.
Oh,
But,
imagine that. Imagine that you get 3/4 of the way done, and then you snag the corner of the paper and you actually bend it. Oh,
yeah, that wouldn't work. Yeah.
No, that would just be an ugly moment.
Yeah.
Nope. Better keep them small, I think.
Yeah. But I thought it was a nice thing to add as a model, So yeah, I'll be putting the models will be in some of the shops. I guess Mary Barker will be at the attic. The model will be at the attic, and the antique of Mary Barker will be displayed at Sassy Jack's, so people can see them in person and be inspired that way if they're stopping in any of those shops. And then the Mary Dickinson model will be at the Sassy Jack's shop, and the E. Dalton one, the one that's on the perforated paper will be at the attic, and the one that's on linen in the frame will be at Sassy Jack's. So if anybody's going to be visiting them after market, either of those stores, they'll be able to see those models there. So.
Yep. Well, that's good. That's good. Splitting them up, sharing around.
Well, yeah.
Yep.
A little bit here, a little bit there, right?
That's right. Yep. That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got stuff then lined up for after market to keep going then.
Yes, I have, like I said, from my antiques, I will be picking out a couple more to start working on aftermarket. Right now, I'm also stitching on other items that are not my own, such as Ann Roberts. I feel like I want to join every stitch along that I see. I don't know why, but
that's a really
I get sucked
bad
into the whole. Yeah, I know.
That's a bad practice.
But I don't know. I just want to stitch with everyone, I guess. I think that's kind of where I got the name, just stitching along, because that's, I think, when stitch along started to be popular. So, I said, oh, that's me, just stitching along, because I just want to stitch with everyone. So yeah, I have a few in the works there as well. I'm handling the Ann Roberts stitch along. That's the Hands Across the Sea sampler in the Facebook group, Our Sampler Years, that I admin with Nicola Parkman. And that's been a lot of fun so far. I've been trying to do some Stitch With Me videos and, get everybody inspired and excited about Ann Roberts, although I don't think it takes much to get us excited. There's a lot to love about that one.
No, that's one of those, you just flip the switch and you just let it ride.
Yeah, just time to go on it, right? Yeah. And I also picked up recently there's one that's by Milady's Needle. That's a stitch along through a shop in Texas, the Stitch Niche, or Stitch Niche. I'm not sure how you want to say it, but that one has a beautiful sampler that they started a stitch along on, and the title is May Health and Peace Attend Your Days, and that just really struck a chord with me that I want to go into 2020 in peace and in health. So I think we can all strive for that.
Yes.
And then there was the attic stitch along that I've been seeing. Robert Harris is, I believe, leading from the attic. Couldn't resist that one as well. So I don't know. You really
have. Yeah, this is a sickness now. This is
It's a problem. It's really hard to find a balance, because I want to work on my own antiques so that I can chart them and stitch them, and get them out to everybody to have as well. And yet I want to also enjoy what others are doing too. So because this has always been my hobby, and I also want to do what everybody else is stitching. So it is very hard to find that balance sometimes.
Yeah.
So.
And these days there are so many options. Holy
There
smokes.
are.
I mean,
There
that's
really
just
are.
endless. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So.
I'm glad you have that sickness. I stopped myself.
You stopped yourself, huh?
Yeah, well, I started the linen and thread stitch along in 2019. The peacock in the middle,
Right.
and that ended up, boy, what people did with that was amazing.
I know.
And I have the peacock 3/4 done, and that's
Okay.
and I never even downloaded the rest of the charts.
Okay.
And that to me was the sign. Just don't.
Yeah. Well, maybe finish the peacock and make it into a pincushion.
Yeah, well, that's about the best it's going to be because.
Right.
No, I don't keep up month to month. See, it's not the stitching, it's that I get behind and then I get frustrated and then I just because oh no, now I really got to stitch to catch up. Oh no, I'm 2 months behind, and so I just
Well, with the Ann Roberts one, I'm trying to keep on track with the time frame because I'm leading that one. So I'm doing just a small amount each month that I have, charted out for everyone. It's graphed out. This is section for January, February, etc. Which is very
so this
doable.
one is what Krista can do in a month. Okay.
Well, to be honest, it really can be done. Well, I know everybody stitches at different speeds, but it can really be done, within, I want to say, a few days to a week or so. The sections that I've outlined, I think. Again, it all depends upon how much time you want to put into it, of course. But with the other ones as well, I don't try to make myself crazy about timelines. I may not stay, in tune with everyone because I have my own other items that I want, other charts and designs that I want to work on that I want to get out for everyone as well. So it's just finding a little bit of balance. And, when I do work on things that are not from my own charting, it's just for pure enjoyment. And, I just want to do it as I can,
Yep.
But I am trying to focus more this coming year on doing some new reproductions as well as maybe a couple original designs that I have floating around in my head.
Ooh, look
I have
at you.
to put some pen to paper and see what happens, but we'll see. But, I do have a lot of good ideas for what's to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right, Krista, thank you.
Okay.
That was fun.
So,
we got to do this.
Yeah.
We got to do this
nice
more
chat.
often than every 2 years, though.
I hope so.
Yeah, let's plan on that. All right.
Okay.
Thanks for the time. Thanks to Sassy Jacks for sponsoring, and thanks for listening.